Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Kristen White, clinical psychologist and mom of 3, and this is the Mom Degree, where we provide support and tools to help women feel less crazy and be more effective in their role as moms. So we're in a series right now on shaping our kids' behavior, and today I want to give you really usually the very first tool I give parents when I'm seeing them in therapy. So obviously I'm going to do a thorough assessment and make sure it fits, but the first thing that I often do after that is a behavioral chart. And the reason is it helps focus in on some things to give quick fixes. It doesn't mean it's going to solve every problem. If your kid is acting out because they have some underlying emotion, a frustration, sadness, it's not going to solve that, but it may shift the behavior enough to give the parents and the kids a little bit of space to work on what's underneath. Sometimes it's enough, man. Sometimes, especially little kids, they just need us to really focus in on those behaviors and be consistent, and they'll change. But even older kids, sometimes it's enough to just create some change that there's now some space to work on deeper issues. So this, and usually obviously when parents come see me, they're pretty fed up and just I can't take this anymore. So we need immediate results. So this is an awesome thing. Super effective. The hard part is just, being consistent enough to do it, and then, getting around to dealing with the underlying issues. But super effective. I use these all the time with my kids for little things we'll talk about. So what I want to do is teach you how to do a basic behavioral chart, and then we'll talk about modifications for your kid's age, temperament, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, it'd be easier if I was sitting with you in person and we could really modify it to whatever you want to work on. But remember, your mom challenge last week was to identify something that you would want to change in one kid and try to trace it through these videos. So if you have that thing in mind, if you didn't watch last week, if you weren't with us, go ahead and think of something now, one thing you'd want to change in one kid. What you're going to want to do is I have a whiteboard here. I love whiteboards and chalkboards. If you have one, that's great. But this can also just be a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. That works just fine too. So you want to get some sort of paper. Usually you're going to put it this direction that you can draw on. Hopefully this will work okay on the video, you guys. I wish I had a nice mounted one on the wall behind me in my future office. Anyways, so what you're going to do is basically down the side here, you're going to write what are the specific things that you want your child to work on. And we only want to have maybe 2 or 3 at most. Again, when parents come in to see me for therapy, sometimes they're really fed up and they've got 30 things. I get that. We could probably all come up with 30 things, but we got to prioritize and start with 2 or 3 at most, because otherwise it's just too overwhelming for us and our kids, and it just sets us up for failure. So 2 or 3 things, and what we write on here, we want to be super specific, so there's no question, did our child succeed? We're not going to argue with them at the end of the day. They think they did it, we don't. We want it to be super clear, did they succeed? And preferably, it doesn't have to, but preferably it'll be positive. So I said last week the one I was going to work on in these videos is my son, my 2-year-old, with just expressing anger appropriately. I would probably modify it for him actually, since he's only 2, but we'll just pretend for a second I'm going to exactly use this. And I want to be specific. So I'm not just going to say reduce anger. How do you know at the end of the day if they did that? And how do you know your definition of that is going to be the same as your partner's, your kids, or whatever? That doesn't work. So we have to get more specific. So one option would be to say something like reduce hitting, right? And even better would be reduce hitting from 10 times a day to 5 times a day. That would be even better. Because it's more specific. It's really clear, did they succeed? Even better might be the positive. So what do I want him to do instead of hitting or the occasional throwing himself on the ground because he's 2 and just crying? What do I want him to do instead? So I might say we've been watching Daniel Tiger, I told you, I want him to learn to take a deep breath like Daniel Tiger. So I might say increase deep breaths. I hope you can get the idea anyways. Oh, is it going to be backwards on the video? I don't know. Deep breaths. And I would just say, I hate to be honest, to 1 time per day. Because this is not something he does at all right now. Now, eventually, if this is going to be my go-to thing, then I want him to do this, 20 times a day, whatever, whenever he gets frustrated. But on here, I want to set him up for success. So I want to pick something that is just outside of his reach. So he has to stretch a little bit, but he can reach it. So that's why even if we did the reduce hitting, I don't say reduce hitting to 0 to start with, because that's too hard. That's just setting him up for failure and more frustration. So I'm going to say, I'd like him to do it more than one time, but this is for this week. That's all this is for right now. We're going to start with one time. If that's a stretch, we'll keep it at one time next week. If that's easy by the end of the week, we'll do a new version and we might up it to 2 or 3 times. Now, since I'm working on the anger, I might also say, ask for help, maybe. He does that some now. So maybe ask for help. Maybe I'd even say specifically, it's really hard to write like this. You probably can't read it even if you can read it. That's okay. Ask for help when frustrated 3 times per day or something like that. He does that sometimes. So maybe that's a little more within his reach. I can make it a little higher. And this, by the way, they could be totally unrelated. The second one could be like, it could be anything. Help clean up toys at the end of the night. Brush teeth without argument, right? It could be anything, and they don't necessarily have to be related. But again, I would only do 2 or 3 things because we want this to be simple and easy. We don't want it to get complicated. So simple, remember, that a kid can understand it. That's the goal here. All right, so then we draw a line, and then we just put the days of the week. You can start wherever you're starting. So if I see a client on Wednesday, what's today? I'm recording on Thursday, so I would start on Friday, Saturday, right? Sunday, we're just going to write the days across: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then we just draw so each day, basically, I'm going to ask the parent to look at this. I usually would do it on a piece of paper for them so we could send it home. Ask them to look at it at least once a day by the end of the day and just assess, did the child, with the kid preferably, did they do this? And then we'd put some sort of, we could put a smiley face if they did it, or we could put usually often stickers for little kids if they did it. And if they don't, then that box just gets left blank. Okay, so that's our basic chart, and we're going to look at it at least once a day. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set up rewards based on how many little, happy faces, stars, stickers, whatever they get, so that they have something to shoot for. And I'll usually do a couple levels so that the kid, again, they're going to be successful, but they have to keep reaching for more success. So often I'll do something daily. So since I have 2 goals here, I might say for every 2 happy faces, and I'll write it at the bottom, they get whatever is going to be motivating for your kid. Sometimes people do stuff, that's fine. Get toys at like the dollar store or something like that. But it could be time with you. It could be, I'm going to go with my son, an extra 10-minute episode of Fireman Sam, because he loves that. So every day, if he met his goals, I would give him an extra 10-minute episode of Sam. That would be totally motivating for him. And then I would set up other goals. So I often will do 2 or 3 levels. So I might say if we get like, so like 5 or 6, you decide 6 smiley faces and we put another prize. And then if it's like a nearly perfect week, right? So maybe 12 smiley faces, what do they get then? And those are obviously often bigger. But again, think not just stuff. Stuff is fine, but it can also be time with you. If you have older kids, it could be maybe if they have a great week, they do their homework and everything, their chores all week, maybe at the end of the week, they get an extra 30 minutes on their curfew or something like that, right? So it doesn't have to be something tangible. What it needs to be, by the way, the rewards, is what is motivating for your child. What is actually going to make them want to do it? So for some kids, that's just, they want an extra 15 minutes to play a game or Barbies with their parent, right? That might be motivating. So whatever it is, we're going to put those down very clearly at the bottom. And then we're going to sit down when we're calm and our kid is calm. That's key. When everybody's calm, we're going to sit down and talk about this with the child and let them know this is happening. They might be, if it's in therapy, they might be doing it with me, and that's okay. Feel free to involve your kids in deciding, what are the goals? Do they understand them? Are these rewards they want? What do they think the rewards should be? If that's age appropriate, great. That's fantastic. So then everybody's on the same page. You also need to let any babysitters know, any, your partner, anybody else that's going to be around really that should be engaged in this, so they can be on the same page. And then we put it like on the kitchen refrigerator or someplace we'll see it because we need the reminder, right? And our kids need the reminder. And we may talk about it through the day. Oh, don't forget, right? But then at least once a day, we're going to go and give them the stars or stickers. And then at the end of the week, we're just going to assess. How did that go? Where did it not work? Let's adjust it. A lot of times where it doesn't work is we forgot to do it. So again, it has to be someplace where you see it. But you might need to adjust goals, or you might need to adjust rewards, whatever it may be at the end of the week. This doesn't mean there can't be consequences for bad behavior as well, but it means we're rewarding them specifically, very, it does not tangibly, but very specifically rewarding them when they're doing what we want them to be growing to doing. And the next week, again, we might increase the number of times they have to do it. We might change the goals altogether because they've done it. That's another place where these fail, though, is you have to be consistent for a number of weeks. So you don't do it one week, have a good week, and decide like, oh, wonderful, we're done, right? We know it takes at least like 3 weeks to make a habit. So this is going to be an ongoing thing for a number of weeks where you may make small adjustments, but you're going to keep really just hammering it until it becomes kind of second nature. And you make the rewards higher, maybe, and they're getting really good at it, so they just get a weekly reward, right? Or something like that. That would be fine. But you just adjust it and you keep consistency and longevity. Those are going to be key to making this work. And again, specific and positive. Okay, I'm running out of time, but just a couple things about making this age appropriate, right? We already talked about making it particular for your child so that the goals and the rewards fit them, but we also want it to be age appropriate. So for when this might work for my 2-year-old or 4-year-old, I'm sorry. She might be about at this level where she could handle this. But when she was younger, and now with my 2-year-old working on the anger, what I'd probably do, and this I just made up because I'm just like, how do I make this work for my kid? A 2-year-old needs more immediate feedback, right? Once a day is not enough for a 2-year-old. That might work for a 6-year-old, maybe even a 4-year-old, your kid, but a 2-year-old needs more immediate feedback. So what I've done before is this is all mangled, but I just got these little pieces of cardstock and wrote their name across the top and put them on the refrigerator, actually real down low where they could reach them and see them. And then every time they got whatever the goal was, I would go and give them a sticker immediately or give it to them to put on here. And too, a sticker is really motivating in and of itself. So we generally had the rule that when they filled it with stickers, then they would get some sort of prize. And it was often something from the dollar store. But a sticker in and of itself is pretty great when you're 2. So that was exciting. And we've done these for, around potty training stuff. We've done them around staying in bed. We got like a clock that turns green, and that was how we trained them to stay in bed till it turns green, is they got a sticker when they did it. And then when they filled it up, they could get a prize. I'm trying to think other things. I could do this around the anger, right? I could say every time you ask for help, or you, what was the other thing we put? You take deep breaths, you get a sticker. Every time I see you do that when you're frustrated. That helps reinforce it really fast. Obviously, the other end is true too. If you have a 16-year-old that you're trying to do some behaviors, not super motivating. But you might do some modified version of this, and their reward is like extra allowance or extra late curfew or something. And you know what? They're going to think the chart is stupid, but if the prize is motivating at the end, they'll be motivated, right? So you morph it to your kids and your age. It is most geared probably for like 5 through like 10 or 12, but I see no reason that you can't use it for younger and older in just a modified version, okay? So your mom challenge is to think about, does this apply to the area you want to work on, and go do it. Go draw your chart right now and try it this week. Let me know what questions you have, but also how it goes. Let me know, okay, this didn't work. That doesn't mean it didn't work. That means maybe we need a slight adjustment, and I'm happy to help you kind of brainstorm that. So let me know. I hope this helps. A really specific tool, you guys. Go use it. Seriously, people pay me $150 an hour to individualize this with them. You're getting it for free. Go do it. I'm telling you. Okay. Thank you guys. Much love and many blessings. Until next time on The Mom Degree.